Mike Hedding here. I've got a technique lesson for you today. We're going to talk about syncopation and a bunch of exercises that can help you practice your syncopation. If you just started playing banjo or you've been playing for a little while, scrug style, three-finger style banjo, you've probably heard about syncopation, that the magic is in the syncopation. That's what kind of gives three-finger style banjo its magic. And if you're like me, you heard that term when you were first starting out, but you weren't really sure what it meant. And that's what this lesson is going to talk about. Syncopation is when the melody happens in different spots in the rhythm than you might normally expect. So if you're expecting to hear the melody on the downbeat and then you hear it on the upbeat, that's syncopated. Or switching from the downbeat to the offbeat to the downbeat and back and forth, which happens all the time in banjo playing, that's what creates syncopation. So we're going to talk about syncopation, how to do it, how to practice it. We're going to break out the metronome, again, work on our timing. So there's going to be a bunch of elements to this lesson that we're going to break down. All right, let's start talking about these syncopation exercises for banjo. And if you're watching the preview of this lesson, you can head over to my website, MikeHeddingmusic.com, and grab the full lesson. You'll get access to watch all the videos, and you can download the tabs and the practice tracks. All right, here's the syncopation exercises for banjo. All right, let's start breaking down this syncopation lesson. But before we get into how to play with syncopation, let's just do a quick rehash on playing on the beat versus playing off the beat, because it's really important to understanding syncopation is to know, is the melody or the scale notes you're playing on the beat or off the beat? Because syncopation kind of happens when the melody or the scale basically happens in a spot in the rhythm that you wouldn't expect. So if you're hearing everything on the downbeat and then all of a sudden you hear a melody note on the upbeat, that's a spot where you wouldn't suspect it. So kind of that movement of the melody within the rhythm is what can cause syncopation. And you've probably heard that syncopation is really important for three-finger style banjo playing. That's kind of what gives it its secret, really, is that the melody happens in unsuspected places because of the nature of playing with three fingers. And we'll break that down more in detail so you understand syncopation. But first, let's just do it with a basic scale so we can hear playing on the beat versus off the beat. You can do this with open, but again, I think if you have some changing notes, it helps you hear it even better. So let's just look at a quick little scale on the G string. Some of this might be recap, but I think it's helpful. So we're just going to do an open G major scale starting on the open third string. And you can use all one finger or different fingers, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use my thumb and my right hand to start. So we got open, we got the second fret, we got fourth fret, we got fifth fret, we got seventh fret, 9, 11, and then our octave at 12. Let's go back down. So classic, just basic G major scale on one string. Okay? So let me pop on my metronome here. So I got it at 4/4. I've got it at 65 beats a minute. So I'm going to play now each note on a downbeat, so on a click. So here we go. Go. Let's do it again. If you're doing it correctly, you shouldn't hear the click, hopefully. And again, it's not always, you're not expected to play perfectly on the beat. Just kind of practice. If you get ahead, then slow down a little bit. If you get behind, then speed up a little bit. But what you're practicing there is playing on the downbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not syncopated, right? Because you're hearing the melody on the downbeat exactly where you'd expect to hear it, right? So that's not really syncopation, that's just playing on the downbeat. Okay, let's turn the metronome back on and now practice playing on the upbeat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the downbeat, and then we have the upbeats would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now I'm counting on the ands in between the clicks. So here we go. 1. That's trickier, right? Because you're playing not on the click, you're playing in the space in between the clicks. Let's do it again. I'll count it out loud. 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's going to take some practice for sure, and I don't expect you to get that right away. But basically, that's really key to understanding syncopation, is you have to be able to hear the downbeats 1, 2, 3, 4, and hear or feel that upbeat. I'm tapping my foot or count out loud 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's try one more time where I'll play with sometimes playing on the downbeat and sometimes playing on the upbeat, okay? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you don't have to get it perfect. What you're practicing is just linking back up with the metronome if you don't hit it right, you know? I always think of playing with the metronome like driving. You're always trying to drive straight, but you're always kind of making those little adjustments. You know, you're not a computer. You don't have perfect metronome, timing. None of us do. So what you're practicing is just linking back up with the metronome. So that'd be the first thing I really work on, is just hearing how to play on that on beat and on that off beat. You know, if you're a beginner, stick with the G major scale. If you want to make it more advanced, you could do another scale. You know, do the C major scale, for example. Or modify, play on different strings. Or do the G major scale this way. You could do a lot of different things with this D major scale. You could really make this more advanced and practice a different scale just to get started if you've already practiced the G major scale a whole bunch of times. But I would recommend starting with the G major scale. I think that's the easiest one to start with. Okay, so let's look at adding a little bit of a roll, and we'll work on playing on the beat and off the beat. Let's do all on the beat, and we'll do the alternating thumb roll. So we'll do that same scale. So I'm playing now thumb, index, thumb, middle, that classic alternating thumb Scruggs roll. And that is not a syncopated roll. So all the melody is on the downbeat there. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3. So if you took out all the roll, all you have is. Okay, let's add the metronome back. Here we go. Speed it up maybe to 75. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So so you can hear with that roll, we're always playing on the downbeat. So let's look at just doing the forward roll. So thumb, index, middle, we're going to do strings 3, 2, 1. I'll do it without the metronome first so you can hear it. So this is going to syncopate the melody. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now the melody is switching from the on beat to the off beat. So let's count it really slow. So now the melody is syncopated. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So the melody went from on beat, off beat, back to on beat. So again, that's the secret of the 3-finger roll. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's do that a few times. Syncopation, kind of in its simplest form, is you expect to hear the melody move on the downbeat, but now we're switching it back and forth. On beat, off beat, on beat, off beat. Let's keep that going. So we have 4 and 1, and now we're on an and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we really just switched the melody up the whole way. Let's speed it up a little bit. Here we go. Bring the metronome back in, because this is where it can get tricky if you're not counting carefully. I went back down to 70. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's tricky. That's really tricky. That's really good practice. So let's count it really slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's try going back down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Whew! So that's good practice. Really count carefully. Again, you don't want to slip into triplets. You want to keep that timing. Again, the melody is switching from on beat to off beat, and that's what's really tricky. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's look at taking that same idea now, doing a different scale. So let's do the same G major scale, except moving to different strings. So we're going to start up on the 8th fret, 7th fret, 5, 3, 1, open. 2nd fret on the 3rd string, open. So we have. Again, don't worry too much about what fingers you do it with. Okay, let's look at doing a descending scale pattern. So we're going to go down 3 notes, and then up 1 note and down 3 again. Really syncopate it. So we're going to do it with a forward roll, starting with our thumb of our right hand. Do thumb middle, and then 2 forward rolls, 5, 2, 1, 5, 2, 1. And so then this is where you get the syncopation. Went down 1 note lower to the 4th fret, just to help end it. Let's do it a little faster. Again, let's count it out. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So again, we're doing on beat, off beat, on beat. 1 and 4 and. You can do it the other scale we did as well. Okay. If you are more an intermediate level player, you could modify the scale, maybe do a minor version. So that'd be like a minor scale. You know, there's different minor scales that have, you know, flatted 7, flatted 6. You can experiment with that. Basically, the underlying idea is, you know, you don't have to use just the basic major scale if you don't want to. That's a good spot to start, obviously. You know, all the other scales you're going to learn are modifications of that major scale. But again, if you want to make it more advanced, throw in some different tones, you know, maybe do a flatted 7th. That can make it bluesier. Maybe do the minor 3rd.